Hello, everyone, and welcome to Industry Spotlight with Creative First. Our speaker today is Vikram Mehra, Managing Director, Saregama India Limited. He is also the current chairman of the Indian music industry, the apex body representing India's recorded music industry. Prior to Saregama, he served in leadership roles as the Chief Commercial Officer at Tata Sky and Vice President at Star TV, spearheading Star's foray into DTH and cable services. Vikram is an engineer in computer science and technology from IIT Roorkee and holds a degree in management from IIM Lucknow. Vikram, welcome to this discussion with Creative First.
This kind of introduction always embarrasses me, as if Harvard and Stanford are sitting in there. But yes, please go ahead.
So before we start this interview, I do want to say that, I think for the industry, you've really changed the way music has been consumed, reviving the entire Saregama portfolio. We also see that Saregama has expanded the range of Carva offerings with a focus on regional music and demographics. What market trends led to this strategic widening of the product range, and how has the market responded to it?
A couple of things at points I want to drive. One, somewhere when the cassettes and the CDs started dying, and we moved into this digital world, which was earlier the Wild West, where piracy was rampant. And then slowly from 2014-15 onwards, digital platforms like the Spotify's or the Saavn or the Ganas of the world started becoming big. But the music companies started losing focus from the end customer. As long as it was cassettes and CDs, we owned the customer. So we spent enough amount of time understanding what a customer wants. Later part, labels started believing this is not a job. Let's create the music, give it to the platforms. And platforms need to understand what their customers are. I think this was a huge gap in between. When 2014 and 15, when I joined this company, I was told that nobody wants to listen to a Kishore or a Asha or a Lata or a Rafi or a Jagjit song. And for me, it's a blasphemy. I've grown up listening to that music. Majority of my little pocket money my dad used to give me used to go on to spend on cassettes and CDs. And how come people who were ready to listen to all that music were not consuming it? Those guys were there in their 30s and 40s and 50s. Suddenly the fascination for those songs can't go away. So we did this big consumer study over 23 cities in 2015 to understand the music consumption behavior. And it became very clear at that time that our primary audience were people in their 30s and 40s and 50s for our catalog music. And they came back and said that they had a hesitation using the apps on mobile phones. They were very, very scared right now that if they press a button, they may get charged. And for me, this is something I'd heard before. In my previous company at Tata Sky, we used to push this entire service called Active. And people used to tell me at that time that they don't press Active because they were scared that they will get charged. So this fear, it was all boiling down to, after an age, the fear of technology starts coming in. In my 30s, I used to poo-poo when I used to hear this. Fear of technology, ye kya hota hai? Now, as I've touched my 50, I know this. Every time a new gadget comes in, my first reaction is, yeah, do I really need it? Why do I need to learn something new? I'm very comfortable using what I am using. That's the genesis of Carva. Carva is not about music. Carva is about the easy access of music for the generation which is tech scared generation. These are the people right now who love the world of CDs used to press a button and song used to start. For them, they wanted the same experience back in their life. They hated the fact that they had to wait for their daughter or son to come back from their hostel or their office and sideload some pirated songs on their phones. They wanted that control in their hand. And Karma was an attempt to give that control back to them. And that's the reason Karma became such a big success. We started in Hindi and very slowly started realizing that people in their own languages wanted their own catalog content and wanted to listen to the music that they've grown up with. Hence, Punjabi, Bengali, Marathi, Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, we have the biggest catalog in each language of this country. And Karvas of each of the variants started going in. Then we started experimenting with a smaller Karvan, which is Karvan Mini, and started getting more specific niche. And then surprising success has been Bhagavad Gita. So we have Bhagavad Gita and Shailendra Bharti's voice. And that product, funnily, I'll tell you this, is getting sold not for home consumption that much. It's getting sold more for office consumption, and in-shop traders are picking it up a lot right now at time, that instead of turning on the television in the shop, they're turning on this for their own consumption and this feel-good feeling. These are the surprises we got away. COVID happened, something I'm proud of at that time. When we were doing our work with the customers during time of COVID 2020, we realized a lot of parents started complaining that the children were not able to step out and they were glued onto their devices 24 hours. There was no school. There was no way parents were allowing children to go out to play in their building or their compound or a park. So they had no option but to keep the kids occupied using only their mobile phones or TV. And they were worried that there was too much of video consumption happening. Overnight, we turned it around into a Carva Mini, which only had audio in form of nursery rhymes, stories in English and Hindi. It had poems. It had then a lot of Puranon ka, some of the big Mam Mrityunjay mantras and artis also sitting in, kind of content you will like to expose to a younger kid at your home. And that was our biggest Karma variant success that we people have seen. So yes, all that we people do in our company is to spend enough time listening to the customers. Do we get it right all times? No, we are not geniuses. We still get it wrong at times. But more often than not, if you listen to the customer, you do get it right. And that's why Carvana has worked.
And talking about listening to the customer, what really led to Carva Go?
Oh, Carva Go right now, which is not our biggest success, and I'm going to confess that upfront to you. Because we listened to the customer, didn't listen to the customer fully. Karma going came from the perspective. I remember we people were doing this workout in Lucknow, and I was there at that time doing this group, and a lot of this is a 60 plus age group. They said that when they used to go for their walks, they preferred listening to music, and that's what kept them occupied. So they used to put their earphones on their mobile phone and used to listen to music that way. So for them, that was a big thing. And then there was another segment, which is a business traveler in their 40s and 50s. They wanted access to a lot of music while flying. They hated putting the music on their phones because the phone used to discharge. If they were doing morning, evening, they find it inconvenient for them to listen to music while they were flying because they wanted to keep the phone charged. Hence, we said, why not launch a product which is dedicated only for listening to music? And a variant of one generation iPod, but in a very different fashion because it was preloaded. And I'll also tell you where we made a mistake there. In Lucknow, when we were listening to the customer, most people said they put their mobile phone in the front pocket. And this is very male perspective coming in. And they used to keep the speaker on because they hated listening it through through their earphones. This feeling that earphones get through when you're listening to it, and suddenly a car comes in the way. If you're walking on the road, accidents may happen. So as you grow older, people said we don't want to walk with earphones on. We said, great customer insight. Let's go out there and give a speaker. There was no speaker plan in Carvango. We built in a speaker, but we built in a speaker which is just enough that if the phone is lying here, your Go is lying here, and you're walking, you can listen to it.
Right.
And that became a disaster because when customers started listening, checking this thing out at the retail shops, they found the speaker too soft. Because there was speaker, they thought speaker is the primary way to consume music through Carva Go instead of earphones. So Carva Go, when it launched, it faced serious amount of pushback. We had to launch a newer version of Carva Go. So Carva Go 2.0 had resolved the problems. And it's got a much more powerful speaker. So this is when you listen to the customer, you think you got one insight right, but we didn't test the final product with that insight on and got it wrong. But that's what you live and learn.
Tell us something about the music library. I do, notice that you have a website. The songs are all there. These are all preloaded. Tell us a little bit more about refreshing playlists on these devices.
On Carvas, no. See, Carva is not about refreshing of content. Carva, all the Carvas have only or 20th century music. It's
Right.
talking to a specific age group. Our positioning is very, very clear. We don't want to talk to 20-year-olds through Carva. 20-year-olds are going to be always very, very happy listening to music through their apps. There, apart from the 5,000 preloaded songs, We are now have a Wi-Fi based return path, which is built into your Karma. It just latches onto your home Wi-Fi, through which we now are putting up content, which is nothing but podcast. So you turn the knob of Karma, it will move from a Kishore Kumar station, maybe to a Bhagavad Gita station, or maybe it's going to be moving to a wine tasting and station, or to a nursery rhyme station. These are nothing but podcasting stations. Again, the access has been made easier. This is the content we refresh on a daily basis. So now Karma is a combination of, you don't want any data dependency. You don't want, you just want to carry your Karma wherever you want to go. There are 5,000 songs. But if it's sitting at home, it can give you far more content.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit more about the partner program that Saregama is introducing for covers and remixes? What is the data showing, and is there a growing trend for a specific genre or style of music that others want to reinterpret?
No, no. So for the longest time, we were facing this complaint that we don't allow access of our music to the outside community, and the reasons were very clear. Piracy was rampant. If as an individual I did something with a Saregama song, Saregama had no way to monitor it or monetize it. So hence we were very um, tight-fisted, if I may say, in terms of giving rights to anybody to officially do cover versions. As time moved and as the digital has now allowed us to control the usage of all our cover versions and remixes, now we have opened up the program to the end customer, where an average Joe can also pick up a song, become a partner with us, pick up a song of ours, do a remix version of it, and then be allowed to put it up on their YouTube channel as well as Saregama's YouTube channel. Also, what we are realizing is, as a country, we are very creative, and music is somewhere in our system. Most people have a take on what can you do with a very popular song, and at times we end up getting gems from people, which also becomes a hunting ground for us to discover new talent. So if you believe right now you can do a great cover or a remix version of a very popular Lata Didi song, chances are if you've done a great job, we upload it, we start seeing traction coming on that particular version, and then we may reach out to you and say, why don't you come out there and do an original song for us? So all these things just dovetail into each other.
We heard that Saregama is co-producing the making of Pakista. Is this indicative of a more long-term exploration of films for the organization? And also, what is your vision for the films division?
We actually were born in a way out of the research we did for Garva. At that time, we had gone to both older people and younger people. So with older people, we had got feedback on the music, about the music access issue that I explained to you. Younger generation was very happy with their music. Their complaint was that we are not giving enough new music. That's why now Saregama is investing very heavily in new music. We'll talk about it later. But at that time, we also, because we were spending so much money on the research, we thought we'll add another question on top of it to understand consumption on the film side. At that time, it was just a shot in the dark. Right now, that maybe we'll get a nugget out of it. Funny part is, the older people, my generation people, were very comfortable with the kind of content that Bollywood, I mean all the Indian film industry, all languages, was dishing out. They loved the larger than life escapist cinema. The younger generation had a problem. The younger generation very clearly said they love their larger than life, guns blazing, cars being shot up, people dancing on Himalayas and Alps. They love all that. But they wanted to see reality also. They wanted to get in touch with realistic cinema and realistic storytelling. In fact, this is the time we got a psychologist on board also to understand this discrepancy. And it was right there in our face, staring in our face. When you come to my age, the reality has slapped you so many times in life that you don't want to see reality during those 2.5 hours. You want to live in a make-believe world when you watch a movie. When you are younger, you have this thing right now that I want to feel the real world. So you want to spend money and see the real life. And we realized there's a vacuum out here in India. There was not enough realistic storytelling that was going on. Most of the big production houses were making big, larger than life movies. We decided let's move into that particular niche where storytelling is the hero and not a big Bollywood star becoming the hero here. That's a genesis of Udly. Over the last 4 years, we have put up 17 films out, primarily on Netflix, Disney Hotstar, and Z5. We recently announced 2 series. Um, uh, One is a Malayalam series and other is a Hindi series. Both of them have already been licensed to different platforms, and you will be seeing announcements happening about them very, very soon from our side. The next one that you are talking about is we have picked up the rights from Kamal Amrohi's grandson about the life of Kamal Amrohi and Meena Kumari for those 14 years, which was the making of Pakista, and how their personal life and the work they were doing in Pakista had this real ups and downs, and very, very interesting story. And it's one of those films which is an iconic film for our country, and the making of it that took 14 years. So we thought that would be great. It's a great romantic story that needs to be told to the world. We in fact also are working on a series which is on the life of Rajan Pillai. Rajan Pillai used to be known as the Biscuit King, a very, very popular guy of his time,
Yeah.
and there are lots of positive negatives coming there. So you will see us investing quite heavily on films and series, but primarily content which is more story driven than a star-led cinema. We are making we announced recently only a film with Amy Wirk in Punjabi. There are films that we are doing with Prithviraj Sukumar and some of the other big stars there in Malayalam. But everywhere, story is the king. That's a story for Udly. Many of the Udly movies end up taking advantage of some of the iconic songs that Saregama owns, and those songs either in the natural, in that old form, or in a remix version come back. We've done a movie called Music Teacher, in which Papon had done two of the reinterpretations of Kishore Kumar's songs, and those two songs are doing phenomenally well. They introduced, because Papon is so popular with the younger generation, he introduced those songs right now to the newer generation. So both the once again, there's a synergy we try to find here between our films and the series business and the music business.
With the massive explosion of short user generated content where users use only a short snippet of a song, how does the revenue model work and how does it impact copyright and licensing?
So the good part is almost all the big platforms, short format apps, now are realizing and recognizing that they need to take a license. And I'm glad to see that. Initial days, there was this pushback that people used to hide behind the safe harbor principle, which I think fundamentally is a tricky issue. So, and I have a strong view. Safe harbor was a great issue as long as it was being applicable to ISPs, where it was a dumb pipe and the ISPs were not taking advantage of the content that was flowing through it. They were getting paid a flat fee. In the new age, platforms are actually taking advantage of the content which is flowing through them because there's advertising revenue which is running on top of it. I think they need to do a fair monetization sharing with the guys who have invested in that IP. But increasingly, we are seeing that even the short format apps that are coming, the big ones who are raising funds and valuations of their own, they're all coming out there and taking a license from the rightful IP owner. So now it's a great symbiotic relationship between them and us, whether it's Josh or it's a Moj or it's Triller or it's Chingari or an Instagram, the biggest one here. We work with them. We spend money on them also right now to market our songs with the help of influencers. And when the other guys are using the songs here, we get paid. So now all of them are going and rightfully paying us the correct value for our IP. It took time, it took some legal battles, but I think we are all of us are on a ground where both of us can grow.
Right. Obviously, the theatrical experience is back. Everything seems to be normal. What are your views and plans for the big cinema? And of course, your views on the screen density in this country, the fact that, we hardly have any cinemas. Does that in a way, you think, affect your film business?
So see, primarily the films that we people are making as Saregama, they are more focused towards straight to digital. Except on the Punjabi and the Malayalam side, where we're making cinemas only for theatre. Overall, theatre opening, I think, is grand news for everyone. We recently had the music rights of Gangubai Kathiawadi, which is the recent Sanjay Leela Bhansali film, which is done extremely well. And when you watch a film on big cinema, the music also stays with you longer because the impact is bigger. When you see Alia Bhatt, on that larger than life Alia Bhatt on a large screen, and she is lip syncing to a song or a dancing to a song, the song stays with you longer. This is great news for music labels like ours. We are just about to release Mahesh Babu. Is movies getting released, I think, after 2.5 to 3 years, a Telugu movie. And the first song of it ended up generating 13 million views on YouTube on day one, right? And these are organic views. So it's again larger than life, but that is possible only with theaters. So we are very bullish that with theatrical theaters opening up, I think movies are going to do better. More importantly, music is going to do better. But yes, I'm in agreement with you that the theater density in the country is very, very low. And also, I don't think theaters are going away just
Okay,
because people like you and me watch some content on OTT platforms.
absolutely.
Because on OTT platforms, it's not the same experience. We create content for OTT platforms, but we know in OTT platforms, very few people watch the entire movie in a single stretch. OTT platforms is, I want to watch a lot of content at home. I want to watch content every day after I have my dinner, before I go to sleep. That hour, there has to be content. I don't watch TV channels any longer. We will watch the content on the OTT platforms. But when I want that 2.5 hours with my popcorn and an outing and that escapist feeling, I want to run to theaters. I saw Gangubai recently in theaters, and I was the Batman in theaters recently. It is a different experience altogether. You can't get it at home.
Right, and I really hope we are able to see a world where there will be ease of building cinemas as well. Coming to the production side, you would be aware that most states now offer filming incentives, production and tax incentives. What are your views on production and tax incentives that are currently available in the industry, and what more can be done, to address this?
But I think most local governments, state governments, as well as some many of the other countries, are realizing that this is a great softer way of attracting tourists to their region. Tourism is a huge revenue earner for every state as well as country. And the moment you start showcasing a city, a monument, a country in these larger than life music videos or the film shoot, it definitely generates a lot of curiosity about that place. I remember Three Idiots, the last scene of Amir going on Pangong Lake, that entire shoot that had done had, my understanding is that tourism went through the roof just because people did not even know something of that sort exists. So yes, a lot of states are helping and are giving push. And when we people plan the production of our films, we do look at this very, very seriously now.
What are the key issues that are affecting growth in the music industry?
Somewhere, the music industry in India, especially. So let me first talk about the good part. The good part is that digitization is now coming to the rescue of the music industry. Now it's becoming easier for us to track consumption of our songs. That any per month right now as Saregama, I get close to 11 billion data points every month coming back to Saregama, telling me about the consumption of my IP, actual song lyrics or the music composition. We are talking about 120 billion data points every year coming back at the current rate. It allows me to run data modeling out here to understand what's working, what's not working. More importantly, now it allows me to track that whether I'm getting paid legitimately right now for each of the usage that is happening there or not, which is great news and which is what is growing the industry now. But in India, we need to have this clear equilibrium which has to be set between the people who create content, that's artists. At the end of the day, all of us need to appreciate and recognize that whether it's labels or platforms, we don't create. It's an artist who creates the content. And that artist needs to get his or her due and proper remuneration that's happening. So that's an important part. Artists and much more, I think investments need to go out there in managing the artists and developing the artists. Then we need to understand music labels. These are the people who actually go out there and put the money. Artist gets paid upfront, artist risk free. It's the labels which are spending lots of money to buy the rights of those songs. And remember, not every bet pays off. At Saregama, we have many of these big budget films that we have picked up over the years, which were huge disasters. And they're just turkey sitting out there with us. For every big song that's working, there are 3, 4 songs on which we have invested in, but they just don't go out there and work. So labels need to get their new. These are the people who are actually taking the risk on the content. And I also understand the plight of the platforms. Platforms need to earn money. Platforms are paying us. They need to earn money. Somewhere what has happened in India, which needs to get corrected, is platforms are becoming dependent more and more on the free economy. So they put all their content free of cost and hope to make money through advertising. There isn't that much amount of advertising money chasing audio. Most of the advertising money ends up chasing video. There's no reason to believe that subscription will not work in India. Globally, a subscription for audio is crossed 500 million paid subscribers. In China, the number is upwards of 50 million, I've been told. So why will it not take off in India? And whenever I say this, people respond back to me and say, Indians don't like paying. Now, this is the laziest answer I have heard. And we have proved it wrong with Carvaan. Carvaan is a 6,000 rupee product, the base model. If we can sell 2.5 million units of that at this kind of pricing and going all the way up to 12, 13, 14,000 bucks, that tells you that people are ready to pay. You need to get your value equation right and people will pay. And somewhere platforms in India have to move from this free advertising dependent economy to a paid economy and life will become better. They will earn more money. If they earn more money, they can reimburse us properly. If we make more money, we start investing in artists that much more. So this value equation has to set right. I think we're still in that stage where the churn is going on, and we all need to find a right place under the sun where we can work with each other in a symbiotic fashion. Hasn't happened yet.
Absolutely. And, talking about, the free economy, what are your views on piracy? I mean, that went through the roof. As much as all the, content grew and people consume content, there was also a lot of pirate content, including music that was consumed. What are your views on
So,
that?
let me answer right now, both with Saregama as well as I am my chairman. We have seen a 2015, 2016 as a watershed movement. From that time onwards, we are seeing piracy coming down even in our own country. I'm not make no exception out here. Piracy is still very high, but it is falling. It is falling steeply. And the big change that happened is earlier people like me, right, used to consume music primarily by going through browser. Our primary screen used to be a laptop or a desktop. To consume music, we used to write www dot some place where pirated music used to go out there and sit, and we used to download it. For companies like Saregama, it was very difficult to chase the culprit because culprit was having its server sitting somewhere outside India. So it was becoming difficult. Now, whether it's me or even you, the primary way of consuming content is through a mobile phone, which is through app. And in the case of app right now, there is Apple and there's Google who was sitting in there. And we work very closely with these people, and they're responsible companies who ensure right now that if any of these infringing guys are sitting in there and who are not taking a license, still putting up their content as part of their app, action can be taken against them. That has helped a lot. And then I have to also remember the advantage of the free economy of these OTT platforms. The good part of that is now all customers get very easy access to millions of songs, which is a legitimate copy of the song, and they're not paying anything. So more and more people are shifting from the pirated world to this world, which is of the digital world. The people who are older, they're shifting to legitimate products like Karma. The people who are younger, they feel why go out there and download a pirated song when I can get everything so easily right out here on the apps. I like to believe that as we people move forward, the Indian apps need to be clear about their pricing. American pricing is not going to work in India. You cannot charge $2 for a music subscription. When cable companies may be offering you the entire suite of video channels at maybe $3, $3.50, how can you go and tell us $2 or $1.50 the minimum you need to charge? India may, if you want it to work, it has to be 29 rupees or a 49 rupee pricing. And according to me, it will move. It's a question of all the platforms coming together and saying, yes, we will offer free, but we will offer free to every customer for maximum 30 days, 45 days, and then try to move the customer to the paid economy.
Right. Saregama is also exploring the NFT space. That's the buzzword these days. Tell us a little bit about your first project in the space and the future plans, if any.
It's a very closely guarded thing at this moment. What we can tell you is actually our first NFT that we are going to be launching is not connected to music. We are launching zombie-based NFTs. We recently released a Marathi film of ours called Zombively, and which has got very rave success. That also gave us this feeling and inspiration to say, can we do something unique about Zombively, about around zombies? And hence, our first drop should be happening in a month. That's the time I'll be able to talk more about it.
So let's not talk about Saregama's plans, but let's talk about your views on NFTs. You know, the
You know,
space, the entire opportunity for the media and entertainment industry, in the NFT space.
see, name of new phenomenon, a lot of also happens. And I think same is applicable in the name of NFT. People are putting up anything and everything in the name of NFT and thinking that they will always find somebody will buy it. And I don't understand why will anybody buy it? Why do you think the customer on the other side is an idiot? But yes, there are some unique things also you can bring in. I believe it's there to stay. I'm not getting into the entire crypto part of it because that's the financial and regulatory issue.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, NFT allows it's no different from an open auction market. If I have something which is valuable and I want to go out there and put it out, and I want to give the comfort to the buyer that the pedigree of this is impeccable, and every time it exchanges hands there is data to go back and prove. That's a huge advantage NFTs bring to the table. Now, what should the proposition of NFT be? Has to be a combination of a rational benefit you're bringing in and an emotional high you're bringing in. There was always a market right now for anything signed by Mr. Bachchan, right? Well, I'll give my right arm right now to get something signed by Mr. Bachchan and keep it with me. Earlier, it was impossible for me to go out and get it, or the only way was for him to put it up somewhere in an auction. Now he's putting as part of the NFT, and I now have a chance to go out there and buy that out. But as long as it's unique, it's numbered, there is no copy of that available anywhere else right now, I think there's value attached to it. So I think all of us will grapple with it in the initial days. It's when the gold rush happened out there in US, everybody ran, sold everything out there and went for the gold rush thinking kuch to mil jayega. It's that way today. In a year and a half, things will settle down, and people who have got solid proposition behind their NFTs, I think, are going to do well.
Thank you so much for this very engaging discussion, Vikram, and for supporting Creative First as always. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Sahil, stay